Joining us now is the former Secretary of the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, a man who was at the helm when the Satyam resolution plan was put in place. Mr. Goel, appreciate you joining us here on CNBC TV 18. It was a 24-hour notice that you got, sir, to initiate action to try and put a resolution plan together. And that's how swiftly the government had then moved. I want to use the Satyam example and extrapolate what will now happen here at IL&FS, where the board has been superseded and a new board has been appointed. What do you believe should be the next steps in light of the experience that we saw at Satyam?
Well, to begin with, I think we must recognize that there are significant similarities between the two cases, but there are also stark differences. So I think I would like to begin by highlighting some of the similarities and differences, and then answer your question about how we should go about it. See, fundamentally, the three things which are similar. First, in both cases, credibility has taken a big hit.
Yes.
No, credibility is the key. The second, in each case, the company is the victim. Company and all the other stakeholders, apart from those guilty. And the third, and this is something, Shereen, I would like to emphasize, is the huge opportunity also for systems reforms in both cases. I looked at Satyam also that way. Well, Satyam was a global first, and so I'm sure would be IL&FS at a different scale. There are also strategic similarities in what the government has done so far. See, the first step is restoring credibility. Now, government has moved so quickly, as we did at that time, CLB. Government has moved quickly to NCLT. They got the order they needed. Of course, for Satyam, it was a path-breaking innovation because it had never been done before.
Yeah.
And IL&FS had a precedent, but it's done very quickly. And they got the order, and I think I really appreciate how quickly and the quality of board that they put together. You know, I know their Kotak personally because he used to come to the ministry. He was in one of my boards. And I treat him as a man in his own class. And of course, Kiran Karnik was the chairman, and Satyam was very good too. And the board that the government has put together is a highly qualified, versatile, and credible board. So I think the essential conditions as the first step, which is what we did in the first 24 hours and the first 72 hours, that has been done. So that's extremely important.
Okay.
Now your question about the next steps. I think the next step is to create conditions for effective functioning of the board. Now this is going to be a sensitive thing. First thing, government has already made it clear that it has huge confidence in the board. This would need to continue. It's not enough for the government to have confidence, but it should be perceived. Everybody should see visibly, yes, government has full confidence. Second point, and this is something which I strategically kept very low profile when I was handling Satyam, government guidance and support, including institutional support, both continue to be important. So while the board has to lead, I think that support is extremely important.
These are very, very different cases. While the resolution plan on part of the government and the strategic thinking on the part of the government may be similar, the entities themselves and the businesses that they operate in are very different. And hence my question on the timeline, sir, because Satyam, from January to July, it was all done. Do you believe that that is possible in a case like this?
No, not the timeline. But let me say the phases will be similar. Satyam had three phases, which is what is going to happen in this case. That's the way I see it. Of course, the board will decide, government will decide. First, and that is most critical to begin, restoring credibility and putting a solution framework in place. See, I don't believe in patchwork. So you need to have a framework in place with a clear vision and with a clear strategy. Now, that takes time. But in our case, we could do it in a month. My own belief is this needs to be done within 6 weeks in any case.
Okay.
If you haven't got restored credibility immediately in a week or two, and if you haven't got a solution framework, I'm talking framework, not details, within 6 weeks, I think you are in trouble. Now, the second phase is what you could call these days a middle over management. Extremely critical. This is where a lot of due diligence, finding the status, finding innovative solutions, avoiding legal pitfalls. Now, this is tough. This, in fact, in some ways, I think, this is tougher than the first phase. So first phase, everybody is well fired up and policy level decisions and strategy decisions and all these high quality people, they're used to all that.
Yeah.
But the devil lies in the detail and this kind of thing. Originally, we were told it's like 15 days to find a financial status. It took 6 months.
Yeah.
And until legal issues of the kind you cannot imagine, suddenly you are faced with something new. So that is the second phase. And the third, of course, is the wrapping up phase. Now, my belief, Shereen, is no way that I see it happening in less than a year.
Less than a year?
That's my part. As you know, I haven't gone into great details in IL&FS.
Sure.
And I was away for a conference. I was not in India. So, I mean, I don't have the details. I don't see it happening in less than a year. If they do it in a year, wrap up and gift wrap it and hand over to whoever's to run, I think that would be a good job.
You know, I asked Mr. Karnik this question, sir, and let me ask you as well before I let you go. You know, we had a new companies law being put in place, which was, in a sense, called the post-Satyam law that you had Satyam-proofed corporate India. And yet we find ourselves in this position again. Mr. Karnik saying that he's disappointed that the early warning system seems to have failed yet again. Where would you stand on that, sir?
I haven't studied the new systems in detail. But I would say that obviously something needs to be done more for this to happen. And this could be not a legal issue. See, the question is that you have the best law in place. But how you implement the law, how you enforce the law, who are the people in place, if they are out to do malpractices, how to prevent them. And I have worked with SEBI myself on this early warning systems, with Kiran Karnik also. But these early warning systems have their limitations. I mean, if Ramalinga Raju was stashing away money somewhere else in the system, so you know, early warning systems have their limitations. And I would so this comes to the basic issue of the kind of people you have in place and the kind of oversight you have to make sure that they don't. So this is not so much a legal issue. I wouldn't find fault with the company law. I would find fault how you implement this. But the last thing, Shereen, I think you asked me earlier about the lessons that you could.
Yes, sir.
I would say, and I have seen a bit of what's coming in the channels, I think people are not fully, Satyam lessons can be very useful because I am talking of the fundamental level. You know, the manifestation of a disease may be different. But the fundamental level, there are three lessons from Satyam, which I personally feel, and they're very generic, but I think that they can be very useful. First is that there has to be a superordinate shared vision and strategy. With the government and the board leading. Now, why I'm saying that? You know, when we were working on Satyam, you talked to any of the team, Kiran Karnik, Deepak Parikh, and we all felt that we were working for the nation. We were working for the country. We're not working for government or X or Y or company. Now, I found we were so full of energy because of that. We 24/7 we could work because we were working for the country. I think that kind of going beyond oneself, I think that spirit, if that can be continued, we of course had the advantage we could finish the whole thing fast. But that is one thing that's important. The second thing which I insisted on, don't make exceptions. You reform the systems as you go along, and I could give you examples some other day. And as far as possible, reform the systems as you go along. And of course, the rest you do as soon as possible. But don't make exceptions. Don't say, well, this is a different case. People say, Satyam is different. I shall not, I'll not allow it. I didn't allow a single thing which is different and you cannot do. So I don't make exceptions. And in IL&FS, there will be a lot of temptation to make exceptions. So huge system of reforms opportunity is there, and we should utilize it. And the third, I'll come back again to that working as a huge team, government, board, institutions. You know, people never appreciated how good were the Satyam employees. People never appreciated. In fact, people never appreciated the wisdom of NCLT or CLB also, for that matter. You know, people take it for granted that this order will come. But no, CLB was very wise, so was NCLT. And employees and a lot of small people all over. Now, in IL&FS, it's even more important. How do you weave them into a partnership there? So I think these three generic lessons, which I learned personally, because I'm leading the whole thing from the front, I think these are important for IL&FS also.
Mr. Goel, it's been an absolute pleasure, sir. Thank you very much for joining us and taking us through the lessons from the Satyam experience that perhaps could hold true as we see the IL&FS mess clean itself up. Appreciate you joining us here on CNBC TV 18. Thank you very much, sir.